Three, two, one. Welcome to the Buckhouse Podcast. We are your hosts, Benjamin and Johnathan Buckhouse. This is episode 15. We are super excited for today's episode. Last week, we did our first in-person podcast, which was a blast. If you missed that, go ahead and check that icon in the top right corner right over there. Also, while we're talking about it, if you guys have been enjoying the podcast, please drop a like. It takes about 2 seconds of your time, but it means the world to us, so we would really appreciate that. Also, we want you guys a part of this conversation, so comment down below any of your thoughts or questions or anything like that. That'd be a huge help. And also, don't forget to subscribe while you're down there, right, guys? But yeah, episode 15, bro. If we're being realistic, we've joked about it a few times and everything, but we'd filmed the first 5 episodes, a year and a half ago or whatever, 2 years ago, and then we started again. So we've done 10 episodes on the current timeline. So would you I feel like we're there, right, bro?
I get what you're saying, yeah, because technically if you every podcast fails at 10 episodes, but we did 5, then we failed for about a year and a half or whatever, and then we got back into it, and then we did 5 more episodes, and we were like, we did it, but did we really? So then this is the 10th one in a row on this current timeline. And now that it's public, there's actually some weight to it. Because before we were like, I'm going to build up a podcast library before we launched the podcast. So we never launched it. So for us to stop had no weight to it because no one knew we did it except for us. That being said, I'm Johnathan Buckhouse, and that is, I almost said Roman Buckhouse, Benjamin Buckhouse, my brother. And this is the Buckhouse Podcast. I was going to say, drop a comment if you disagree with anything we say as well, because I think good conversation is always healthy, and we would love to hear if you guys are like, you're idiots. I don't think that at all. So we'd love to hear that. But yeah, bro, 15 episodes. It's crazy. They're getting about 160 plus views a podcast, which is super rad. I think we have 2 kind of floppers that you guys should go check out. I'm going to pull them up real quick.
While you're pulling that up, yeah. What's crazy about what you were saying earlier about the first 5 and then the next 10 or whatever is that we were about to make the podcast go live after that 5th episode. We were about to do it. And then the start of the season happened. What we mean by that is Jonathan's a snowboarding YouTuber. And when that snowboard season starts, chaos happens and he is nonstop go. So quite literally, we made that 5th episode and we were about to release it. And then it life just happened and everything. So we ended up not releasing it. But bro, did you get those episodes up?
Yeah. So if you guys have not seen episode 2 or 5, they are the lowest viewed episodes. It could be because I don't think I've shared them on my channel yet. I always do a community post to hey, check out the episode. I don't know if I shared those ones or not, because those first 5 episodes kind of all dropped at once and then we launched the podcast. So if you haven't seen episode 5 of the podcast or episode 2, go back and listen. It's one of the best parts about a podcast is they don't have to be in chronological order. You can listen to an episode whenever. So if you're a new subscriber, feel free to binge the podcasts. They're really good. We try and inform you guys on social media, day-to-day life, YouTube creation, I don't know, being motivated. It kind of goes all over the place. We talk sports, we talk video games. And so, yeah, whatever floats your boat, there's an episode for everyone out there, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. And I kind of want to dive into some social media strategies with you, bro. That's what I want to jump into today. And particularly, I thought of this while doing it, bro. Literally while I was doing it, I was thinking about this and I was like, wow, I'm pretty clever for this. What I did, guys, is if you missed last week's episode, we talked about a particular video I had made that was pretty clever, and all I needed to do was add audio to it. And Jonathan did tell me about 8 critical tasks, and I ended up getting it done. I did get the video up, which is super exciting. But I when I uploaded the video on the podcast channel, I then put it on the story, but was learn more about this reel, hear the story behind this reel in today's episode. So it was I'm like I said, we're talking strategies here. So I was promoting my content through the podcast and the podcast through my content. It was like a double promotion there. And like, bro, we can do the same for your content. And I thought it was pretty clever. I don't know about you.
No, I think that's super sick. I mean, in a way, I'm doing it through like talking about the wax company that I want to launch. I'm literally holding a bar of wax right now. And, you know, like when we start making wax content, we do the same thing, like listen to the creation or the behind the scenes of this wax company through the podcast type thing, because we've talked a lot about it. And I got more going on with that. But yeah, content strategy is so important. The hardest part about it is sometimes it fails. You know, you strategize, you come up with this like grand scheme of something, and it doesn't fully pan out. But I know the summertime is always my content strategy. Figure it out, try new things, because my views virtually obliterate in the summertime. So I go from getting like multiple millions of views a day to like 300,000 views a month in the summertime, just because no one's really caring about snowboard content. Like my diehard subscribers and followers will still watch and things. And so they're the ones that give me like the true feedback. And that's when I can do things like my current strategy right now is I stopped premiering my videos. So I used to premiere every video, jump in the chat, talk with people. Well, YouTube stopped pushing premieres. So I would go do a premiere and no one would get a notification, and I'd have like one person jump on a premiere, and I was like, this is dumb. So now my current strategy is not premiere, just launch a video. I also want to see if that helps the retention of a video, because I don't know how many people would jump into a premiere and it's halfway through and they're like, oh, I missed the beginning, I'm out, and then they leave and they never come back. So I'm trying that as well. So no more premieres is my current strategy. And then I went from vertical live streams back to horizontal live streams, because vertical live streams, YouTube was putting it in the shorts feed, and you'd get a spike of like 300 people watching out of nowhere. And then a couple would stick through the live stream, and like live streams are getting a couple thousand more views, but then YouTube stopped doing that. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to go vertical live anymore because YouTube stopped doing it. So I'm back to horizontal live stream. So strategy is like, not only is it so important, but it's always changing. It's never not changing.
No, 100%. I've YouTube strategies, yeah, like you said, like constantly changing. That's crazy that like you've in like less than a year you went from horizontal to vertical back to horizontal streaming, and it's just the way that YouTube is. Now, I was also thinking of ways to help our short form content. I will say, guys, it's a lot to go through, and I admittedly should be better about it. And so I'm admitting my faults. I want to be better about shorts, and I've been talking with my wife about that, about like I need to dedicate a certain time every day to getting the podcast, like a short made and everything. And so if you guys enjoyed a particular section, or if you guys are like, that was a pretty funny section, it'd be a huge help for me if while you're listening or watching this, if you're like, hey, that was pretty funny, or hey, we like this, and like give me the timestamp, and I could potentially make a short out of that. So that'd be pretty cool, you know, kind of like a community thing. I'll shout you out, maybe, that type of stuff. But yeah, no, coming up with short form content.
I would say that's a great idea, by the way, Ben. So if you guys like something, like clip it or mention like, oh, that segment at this time was good, because I mean, obviously we want the podcast to grow, the more listeners, the more we can do. Eventually this channel can start making money, and it'd be really awesome. And the shorts, I'm looking back at the last couple ones, all broke over 420 views, bro. So especially once you start putting the background, like the green background, into the shorts. So like, big shout out to Ben. He's the one that's doing all the editing of every podcast, doing all the shorts. I don't have time to do it. And even Ben, you know, he's got a job and a wife and things that he's got to take care of. So like, you know, making this podcast is just a love project. You know, there is no monetary value in it, and we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it because we love doing it, but it does take time and energy. So if you guys are enjoying it and want to help out, yeah, anything that you feel like was a good segment, like, yeah, please mention that and we can clip that for sure.
Yeah, it's the time portion, or why it's difficult per se is just the pure amount of footage that you have to go through. As in, I showed Johnathan a breakdown of how I edit the podcast when we did our in-person one last week, which The in-person one was incredibly easy to edit. I pretty much had to set up the audio originally, which the audio did sound really good. We ended up using my microphone, but just because of the way that, like, how loud it was and everything, the only times that it kind of struggled was when we, like, laughed or got really loud. The microphone would kind of glitch out a little bit, but overall came out okay. What I'm getting at, though, is that, the in-person podcast was very easy to edit. That being said, we only had one camera, so it was super easy to edit. But while I'm editing the podcasts, I'm, like, cutting out small bits and pieces here and there of, like, dead silence. Johnathan and I are talking over the internet, and there is a slight delay between them, so, like, I kind of cut that up and everything. And then I'm also taking notes. I've got multiple pieces of paper right next to me that are, like, the chapters. So I'm sitting there, like, studying, like, listening to what's being said. But this is more complicated than you think, the chapters section, because it's like you don't want to have 1,000 chapters. Like, if I put every topic that Johnathan and I talk about as one chapter, we'd have a ton of chapters. So I have to, like, summarize essentially, like, 5 to 10 minute segments into one section, right? So I'm, like, constantly thinking, and then to throw, like, is that a short in there? Like, there's just so much thinking being involved at the same time, and I'm just doing all this just to save time to the best I possibly can, if that makes any sense.
I don't envy you, bro. I do appreciate you. So thanks for all you do for the podcast. It's, I get it. I edit my own videos, and I know how long they take, especially these podcasts are about an hour long, and then you throw in your hour-long footage. But in my hour-long footage, you got 2 hours of footage to go through, but it's a lot. And then you're just listening to segments over, and it's like, okay, if this is hour-long footage, I'm technically going to listen to something and then go back and listen to it. So all of a sudden, that going through 1 hour footage turned into roughly about 2 to 2.5 hours of going through footage. Thankfully, you're not doing, like, crazy stuff, like a edit would be. But I get it, man. Sometimes my longest videos to edit are talking ones where I sit and I'm like, these are the 5 best ways to go on vacation, and you're just talking and putting B-roll over. Like, those tend to be, like, I always underestimate how much editing those take, just talking edits.
100%. I've been getting faster with my edits. I feel like just kind of like, I don't know. I just, like, I don't know how to say this, but just, like, my, I guess, intuition towards the video or towards, like, the section, I'm like, no, that's not, like, I'm gonna need to cut that out. And I, like, fast forward a little bit, I'm like, yeah, I need to cut that out. So I, like, go back. So it's like I'm kind of, like, predicting the video a lot better while editing. I don't know how to explain that any differently, if that makes, I don't know, that sounds a little complicated.
You're
like,
pre-seeing the edit. I get it. I do it all the time with, like, a video that I've filmed or done. Like, you're, like, have these mental notes, so then by the time you get to the edit, you're like, I already know what to do here, and you just do it.
Well, so I'm not necessarily referring to exactly that, because I don't know about you, but, like, when I'm filming something, like, especially if I'm filming somebody else, actually, no, even if I'm filming myself, I don't necessarily know exactly what I'm saying, as in, like, I'm not saying it and then, like, remembering it later, like, oh yeah, I said this verbatim. Like, I don't know, I don't have that. What I mean, though, is, like, I'll be watching, like, I edited a shipping video the other day, that's in, like, a let's pack this order, and we broke down the order, showed what we put inside and everything. And there were moments where I was filming my colleague, so he would start doing something, and then like, he would start saying something, and then he would mess up, so then we would go back, and then he would start saying the same stuff and then mess up and then go back. And there was just, like, certain points where, like, I don't remember it, but just by watching it, I was like, I don't think that this is right. So I start, like, fast forwarding a little bit. I'm like, yep, he messed up. Okay, here's this portion. Okay, did he mess up here? I think he does. And I'm like, yep, he did. So it's like, it's kind of like, I'm just by watching it and, like, looking at kind of the audio spikes, I guess you could say, I'm like, no, this isn't a good, like, this clip isn't good enough. So then I, like, just assume, or, like, I assume, like I said, I don't know how to explain this. It's just, like, by watching the edit or by editing it, I'm like, no, this isn't going to work. And I'm like, yep, it didn't work. And then, like, fast forward a little bit. I don't know. It's helping. I don't know. It's working for me. That's all I know.
For the audience out there, I'm just as confused as you are.
I'm confused. I'm more confused than you guys.
Good job, Ben. On a different note, I've been extremely sick the last couple of days. I'm feeling a lot better now, but I wanted to talk about. So I got the norovirus, as I'm pretty sure what I got, which is like a throw up diarrhea for multiple day sickness. And I heard it's pretty popular in Colorado. Like a lot of people come to Colorado and get this virus. And it's awful.
Stop moving to Colorado.
Come to Colorado and you'll be thrown up. So I like held the toilet for the last 3 days straight. And the worst part is my nieces and nephew just came up to hang out with me and my wife and my kiddos for the whole week. So the first beginning half of this trip, Uncle Jonathan's been in the bedroom throwing up or sleeping or not feeling good. But the other thing is I haven't been posting any short form content. I've still gotten my daily YouTube video out, but mainly because I've already had them edited. So all I had to do is like crawl to my computer and make a thumbnail real quick. And I now have A/B testing, so I can make 3 thumbnails and upload 3 to see which one does better. But for those days, I just made 1 thumbnail and I was like, I could get to it another day. And the point I wanted to get to is like, in content creation or in this world, like being consistent is super important. But if you like get sick or like something in life happens and you can't be as consistent as you want, or like my 8 daily tasks that I love to do, and reading and journaling and all the stuff that I've talked about on this podcast, I haven't been able to do any of that. Like today was the first day in like 7 days that I was able to wake up at 3 a.m. and get back into my routine, or attempt to start getting back into my routine. And I just wanted to let you guys know, like, I know mentally I like beat myself up so bad. I'm like, come on, dude, get back into it. You suck. Like, go post a short, things like that. Then I gotta like also talk to myself and be like, dude, you're good. It's going to be okay. Like, this is just such a small chunk and it's such a grand scheme of things. And it's funny because like in my world, I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't posted a short in 4 days. Like, what's going on? I guarantee no one's even noticed that I haven't posted a short. So, yeah, I don't know. Don't beat yourself up, I guess.
Now that sickness sounds terrible. I haven't really gotten a sickness like that. I haven't gotten a sickness like that in a while. I remember like probably the more recent thing, which is it's not the exact same, but it's similar, is like food poisoning. I remember the last time I got food poisoning and that just wrecked me.
It's the equivalent of being hungover for 2 days in a row, or like 3 days in a row, like super hungover. Like you drank so much that like you can't even keep water down, and you're pooping yourself like crazy. And the worst part is kids tend to carry it the most or get it the most. So like Roman's had it 4 times this year. Bristol's gotten it twice. I got it and Bobby's gotten it. So it hits the kids the most. And so one of the major causes of it is from not properly washing your hands. So it makes sense that Roman gets it the most. But it's brutal, and I don't wish it on anybody. I will say these Gatorade rapid hydrations are a lifesaver in this situation. Because the moment you can start keeping liquids down again, like you want to get in like all those electrolytes and things that you were just vomiting out.
That's crazy. That is crazy. But speaking of routines, I know exactly what you mean. I didn't get sick and got out of routine, but overall, my eating habits, especially with the 4th of July, kind of events, we had 4th of July itself, but also we had like tons of family in town and just tons of things going on. And my diet has deteriorated, and Kirsty and I have already we need to stop now. Like, we need to stop now and fix this. So we've already started taking our precautions to try to shift more towards that Whole30 lifestyle and everything. But also, I started working from home more because I can, and I do enjoy that, and it does work well in a lot of ways. I've been working from home more, and I think that kind of messed up my routines, like between the diet and then the family being in town. Like, my routine of kind of getting up earlier and getting this stuff done and all that has kind of gone out the window. And I texted Kirsty yesterday. I was like, we are done with this. Like, we are resetting and going back to normal. And I partially not blaming anything, but like the podcast, we haven't woke up early to do the podcast in a while, because last week we did the in-person one, and then you were sick the last couple of days. So it's been like 2.5 weeks kind of since I like was up early for the podcast. So once again, like that threw me out of rhythm and everything. Basically, I'm just ready to get back into my routine, put my head down and work. That's where I'm at right now.
Well, and life is, it's never going to be like, you're not going to get a routine and you just hold it forever. But the whole goal in life, or in a year or even in a month, is to be positive on the good. So like, yes, like there's definitely moments where I'm like, oh dude, I am eating like garbage. But as long as in that 30-day span, I ate healthier than negative, then I should maintain my weight, not gain weight, like stay healthy. Same thing with like the routine. Like, okay, I want my YouTube channel to be successful. I want my business to be successful. I woke up 20 days out of the month at 3 a.m. and I was able to journal and be creative and get edits done and be positive. Like I won that month. And if I consistently win the months, and all of a sudden I won 10 out of the 12 months, then I won the year. And then you can stack that to decades and things like that. So life is so much ups and downs, and yes, you're going to have crappy times. I'd argue that I'm having one of the crappiest years I've had in a long, long time, but I've had a lot of positive years prior to this year. So it's like, do your best to just try to be as consistent as you can. And when things are going down and being crappy, just don't give up and do your best to get a little bit of positive out of each negative day. And eventually you're going to come out on top. So sometimes you'll be in the thick of it. You might have 2 bad months in a row. You might have ate really bad for Thanksgiving and Christmas, but there's still all those other months out there to get that back.
No, that makes sense. I also just kind of noticed some other bad habits that we have, and it's just like, we need to cut a lot of this out. So it was just overall like stop doing drugs. No, it was just like, we need to be better about habits and stuff. And it's like, we want to like do more things with our dogs. We already do a good amount of stuff. It's like, we want to do more things with our dogs, but it's like, we'll be like, yeah, let's take them to Palmer Park when we get home from work or whatever. And then it's like starting to rain. So then we just like don't. And then like the next day we're like, oh yeah, let's like, we didn't do that. Let's go do that. And then we like just don't, or what, like we just kind of like get busy with stuff at the house and then don't, and then I like start feeling bad. So it's like, just like, as much as that doesn't necessarily affect me and my routines, it's more so it's like, no, we want to take the dogs to Palmer Park. If you don't know, that's like it's a bigger park here in Colorado Springs, and it's just a really cool, beautiful area. So we just want to take the dogs there and walk them around and stuff. So it's like, we want to do that for them, but we're just kind of like, the weather's permitting, and then we kind of get caught up and everything. It's like, what are we doing? Like, just stop, breathe for a second. Let's take care of the dogs. We can clean up the small messes around the house when we get back or whatever, right? And so just kind of thinking of like some of the decisions that we make, and just be like, no, we should be making different decisions. So that's where we're at right now. We're super excited. We're very motivated now that like the 4th of July is done and everything. We're ready to like go hard back into the lifestyle diet and everything. So we're excited.
Dude, it's funny. We have these holidays mainly as Americans, we have all these holidays, and man, they really do throw things off. And I will say, like, my wife, and it is special because we have kids. So like, she really goes hard into the kid holidays. So Christmas, Easter, Halloween, she makes them these grand, like the Boo Ghost shows up and brings them a Halloween basket like 10 days before Halloween, and has all this stuff. It's like, it's ridiculous for sure, but it's also, you only have kids, at least if like my kids will only be kids for maybe 10 years, and then that magic moment is gone. So, she goes so hard into it, and it's so fun, but man, does it throw off like everything. And then, like 4th of July, if you partake in alcohol or whatever, like depending on how you go about it, like it can really throw off your routines. Also, you eat special foods for certain holidays and things like that. So could definitely mess it up. I will say we had an incredible 4th of July, because normally we had like Cody or other friends and family hang out with us on the 4th of July. This was our first ever one where it was just Bobby, Roman and Bristol and me, and we just went, and we went to the ponds and went paddleboarding and played in the water. Then we came back, and we didn't have a fire ban up in the mountains, which was sick. So we went and got the Target in Silverthorne was selling sparklers, like Ben, like legit fireworks, like fountains and things, not just like poppers and streamers and stuff. So I was like, holy crap. So we actually bought some fountains. We ended up only being able to do half of them because I didn't have enough space in my driveway to safely fire them all off. But I don't know, this last 4th of July was actually really special. It was just me and Bobby vibing with our kids, which is just so different. I think that's a sign that we're getting older, is that we're just like okay with hanging out with our kids.
So holidays and I have a very weird relationship, I feel like. So 4th of July, it means a lot to me. I don't know. I feel like I'm fairly patriotic, and I won't go too much into that politically wise or anything, but it's more so it's just like, no, I'm very proud of our country. I'm very proud of everyone that has served for us. Side note, we don't have to go too into it, but it's like, Kirsten and I went to a memorial service on Monday. Her great uncle, so her dad's uncle, passed away, but I've met him a handful of times. He was 88, so he was older, but just hearing his story, like he served 20 years in the Army, 20 years for the State Patrol. Then after that, he went and was the mayor of Canyon City for like 5 to 10 years or something. And so like this guy just had like an incredible career. And because of that, his memorial service was very special, as in we had veteran people there. And then he was also part of this Night of the Republic something. So we had some of those people there. And it was just very like, I don't know, I would like the patriotic side of me was just very appreciative of what this gentleman, who I barely even knew, did for our country. So that's just the way I am. And so like 4th of July, love the holiday. Like it just like it means a lot to me. That's, you know, our patriotic selves. That's what we're here for. But then it's like beyond that, Thanksgiving kind of is like a whatever holiday for me, and Christmas is a fun holiday.
One. Thanksgiving's the best.
No, dude, like
football and food. So there's nothing better.
Well, okay, I will say, so the football and food part is awesome, but it's more so like, I don't know, just like the holidays themselves. Like Easter, I don't do anything for Easter. And then it's like Memorial Day and Labor Day, although those are minor holidays, those are just like good reasons to go camping and stuff. Like that's what I see those holidays as. But it's like New Year's, I haven't stayed up for New Year's in like a decade. Like I don't know, like it's whatever.
New Year's, my year doesn't even revolve around the 12-month. You know, like my year starts in October. Like my January is October because that's when the ski resorts open. So like October to September is like my yearly calendar. It's totally different than everybody else's.
I don't necessarily, and like I think we've talked about this in much earlier podcasts, but it's like I don't necessarily believe in New Year's resolutions or anything. It's like if you want to change, change today. Like don't change next month, don't change next year. Like, and why are you waiting? Like it's honestly just a day. Like that's all that it is. It's just a day, and it just so happens to fall on this calendar day or whatever. And for me, I'm big about that on like birthdays. I've always been big about that on birthdays. Is like, I don't believe in celebrating a birthday on the actual day. Like we can celebrate the weekend before, the weekend after. Like it doesn't have to be on that exact day or anything like that. So
I will say that kind of kills me with Bobby, because like I might be coming back from like mainly summer camp is like Father's Day is always kind of like in the mix or in the way of coming back from summer camp. And I'm like, hey, like we could just celebrate it 2 days later. Like the kids will have zero idea. Like Roman is 6. Like we just tell them Father's Day is 2 days later. And Bobby's like, no, you got to be back on the day. And I'm like, dude, you're making everything so much harder by being this strict about the day. But I will say, like on the New Year's resolution thing, once again, like you don't need a new year to be a new you. It starts with winning the day. So once again, try and have more positives and negative in your day. And that moment when you're like, when you think like, dang it, like I didn't have the day I wanted, or I wanted to do this and I didn't. When you have that thought, immediately get up and go do the action that you like did, no matter what time it is. So like, let's say like you're literally about to go to bed. And you're like, man, I said I was going to journal and I didn't journal today. I'm really irritated. Like while you're having that thought, just stop, get up and go take the action, like go journal. But it starts with winning a day, and then it starts with winning a week. And then from winning the week, you can then win the month. And then you're just trying to get more positives than negatives throughout your whole month or your week. So this is for the viewer out there, by the way. Like, just give it your all. Get some positives, get some wins out of your days, your weeks.
So I'm sure that other people have experienced this, but I've never talked with anyone about it. So I'm going to ask it as in like to start the conversation. And that's like, bro, do you ever have moments where you catch yourself thinking about a negative thing, and that I'm using that as like a blanket term, and I'll revisit that, but it's like you see yourself thinking in a negative way or thinking about a negative thing, and you like literally like in your brain, you're like, no, stop it. And you're like, we're not going to think about this. And you're like, just breathe, let this go. This won't affect you. Like, don't let this affect you. Just breathe and let it go. So it could be like your boss bothered you or something. And so you like, you catch yourself like kind of, my boss, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, stop. What are you doing? Like, don't do that. Like, don't think that way. Do you ever think like that, bro?
No, I will say, you'll catch the videos out there that are like, the way you think affects like who you are. Like, you need to, the way you talk about yourself, like words matter. Like, if you say like, I suck, then you're going to suck. But if you say like, I'm great, I'm like affirmations, and it's like what you focus on is what you'll be. That being said, like, I do tend, like, I've achieved a lot. I have a lot of belief in myself. Like, I don't say like I know I'm awesome, but like I have a lot of positive thoughts. But recently, a lot of my business has been trending on the downward side, at least monetarily. And I do catch myself super frustrated and focusing on the bad things, but it's because the bad things are happening. It's not because I'm just deciding to focus on bad things. It's like, no, I have to focus on these things that aren't going smooth because things are not going smooth. And so that is a weird spot to be in, where I'm like, I want to always be thinking positive. I want to always be thinking like, oh, views are going to go up, we're going to kill it. But like, when views are absolutely tanking and finances are absolutely tanking, it's like, how do I not focus on these things? Like, how do I can't just like pretend like it's going to be better, So I get what you're saying, but no, like, it's never like, oh man, this person's making me mad, I keep thinking on this person. If any of that makes sense.
Well, it's not necessarily like I was just using that as the example, but it's more so it's like, if you're like, maybe you don't deal with this, but it'd be like, this is a small thing. Like, I never dwell on this too much, but it's like lately Colorado drivers just are terrible. And I'm going to say it because I don't care. It's because most of them moved from a different state, and believe it or not, every state drives completely differently. And in my opinion, if you're going to move to my state, you're going to figure out how to drive in my state. Like, that's the way I am about it. But like, if somebody like cuts you off or whatever, and I tell my wife this too, she particularly gets a little bit more road rage. And I'm just like, you're never going to see that person ever again. Just let it be. Like, everyone's safe. Everyone's fine. Like, just let it be. Right. So it's not that I'm like letting it ruin my day or whatever, but it's just like, in that moment, if I'm like kind of catching myself like dwelling on it a little bit, I'm like, why am I dwelling on this at all? Like, why am I dwelling on this at all? And just kind of like forget it. And it does help. It just be like, just forget it. But no, like, it's just if something, if I'm just noticing myself just thinking in a negative way when I just shouldn't or whatever, I like can like slap myself out of it. And a weird one I did actually, I think like yesterday was, I was about to say in my head, like, man, I'm tired. And then I stopped and I was like, no, you're not. Like, I literally thought, I was like, no, you're not tired. You are fine. And I just like, was like, yeah, I'm not tired. And I just wasn't tired for the rest of the day. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I
think the only negative thoughts that I have, and you're not weird, bro. Tons of people have that.
Yes, I am.
I don't focus on like things that happen. Like, I definitely get over them way fast. Someone cuts me off, things like that. Like, I don't dwell on any of that. Someone says something that is upsetting, like, I move past that stuff so fast. But I do get into my head about food And I almost made a bad food decision this morning where I woke up and I wasn't able to eat for the last couple of days. I woke up and I was like, I'm just so hungry. And because our nieces and nephews up here, we have cereal for them in the cabinet, which is awful. Like specifically Captain Crunch cereal that's delicious that we have. And I almost made myself a bowl of it. And I know if I would have ate that, I would have all day been like, you failed. Like, you started the day off with a fail. Like, you started off the day, literally started the day with a negative. And I would have beat myself up about it the entire day and just literally just mentally been like, well, you already ate cereal today, so might as well eat these brownies. Might as well do that. Like, that would have just been so tough on myself. So I do think negative or am rude to myself if I don't eat correctly. And that's the only time that I'm pretty think negative.
I guess that would be the thing. So I think that you took the better approach by just not eating the crappy food, right? That was the better approach here. But like, let's say you did do that. What I'm essentially like talking about is, instead of you dwelling on that, instead of you being like, man, I started my day off on a fail, just kind of like forgive and forget, as in like, yeah, it happened, but why should you let that dictate the rest of your day type of thing, right? So just kind of like cognitively thinking and being like, yeah, I did that, but I'm not going to let that affect me.
Well, the worst part is it does affect you because you feel like crud, if that makes sense. Like, it literally makes you feel like so I'm bloated and I don't feel as good as I should have. And I got this red dye running through my system, making me all emotional and stuff. And I'm like, I feel like crap. And I know why. And it's my fault.
It's so funny that like people don't like, your average person doesn't kind of have the same experience that we're referring to. Some person might be listening to this and being like, what are these guys talking about? They can't eat Captain Crunch without their stomach feeling like crap or whatever. And it's like, no, seriously, once you start eating a certain way, like we did for Whole30, just you see foods differently. I had just Cheerios once after finishing up the Whole30 diet, and it destroyed me. I don't think I'll ever have cereal ever again. It's so bad.
I hate it. I also, like, Bobby bought cereal the other day. I ended up eating all of it. But every time I eat it, I was so irritated. And it was like healthier cereal, but none of it's health. Like, cereal is definitely something like I don't need in my life ever again. My new like supplement for cereal is almond yogurt with granola in it.
Okay.
That's it. It literally kind of feels like you're eating a small bowl of cereal, but it makes you feel so much better.
So something that I tried a little bit ago that I think was pretty good. It had a kind of any type of yogurt has this kind of like tang taste to it, and so you may get used to it, so you may not know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's like there's just like this weird kind of like tangature to it, and so something I tried was coconut yogurt, but then I would put like pineapples in it, and so it'd be kind of like pina colada or whatever. I kind of vibed with that for a second.
I say that definitely sounds good for like a dessert.
Yeah,
but not like a daily like breakfast type thing. Now that's the hardest part, is like eating a good breakfast when you're trying to eat better, because like when you look at the American breakfast, you realize like it is 90% desserts, French toast, pancakes, everything's got syrup on it, cinnamon rolls. I mean, even some of these breakfast burritos are just so full of like grease and whatnot. But man, I love a good breakfast burrito.
So Kirsty and I's go-to for breakfast is always eggs, which is a very common thing that everyone, like a lot of people do that. But what we would like to do, we've got different versions of it. And so we do spinach and grape tomatoes that we'll like cut up. And so it's literally just like eggs, spinach, grape tomatoes, and you fry the spinach and the tomatoes inside that, like while you're cooking the eggs, so they kind of get cooked and like roasted a little bit. That's really good. We also love the Whole30 approved bacon. So pretty much like no sugar added, none of that stuff. So still like kind of a greasier diet, but it's pretty good. So we like doing that, and then doing potatoes. So we'll do like bacon, eggs, and then put that on top of potatoes that we air fry. So that's something that we like to do. And then what we also tried doing after Whole30, which honestly I don't mind, and that's we do eat bread, but it's gluten-free bread, and we're pretty sure that Kirsty has an kind of like some type of allergy to gluten, because like it messes her up since we started introducing that back into the diet. So the gluten-free bread is what we're going with, and we really like that too. We'll toast that, put the eggs and bacon on it or whatever. Yeah.
Dude, bread is my kryptonite. I really wish I could stay away from bread a lot more. It's so easy to be like, I'm hungry. I'm making Roman Bristol peanut butter and jelly. I'm just gonna make myself a quick peanut butter and jelly. Like it's the worst. I am so good if it's not around. I'm not gonna go get it. I'm not gonna go to the store and buy bread. But if it's in the house and it's available, it's so hard to say no to it. And like the kids have so many delicious, yummy snacks thanks to Bobby that it's like saying no. I do a good job, but man, sometimes it's like mega hard.
Bread is such a fascinating thing because it's like it really does. It's really a game changer when it comes to eating your food, as in it really adds a certain level of like texture or consistency that does, in my opinion, make the food kind of overall a better experience. But it's also like it's something that you have with bread is so much more filling than like anything else. And I know that kind of makes sense, but it's like if you're going to the mountain to go like if you're bringing a lunch to the mountain or whatever, having bread a part of that, all the carbs and everything, is like a game changer for your experience and your energy and everything. You know what I'm talking about, bro?
Oh, I absolutely know. That's why Whole30 is the hardest for me when I'm still snowboarding, because like I need to burn all that energy. So I haven't fully dialed in like what I want my diet to be throughout the snowboard season, but I got to find like the right bread or the right breakfast, because I am a big for snowboarding, because I don't like to eat lunch on the mountain. So I like to eat a really good breakfast before the day, and then just burn through what I ate in the morning all day on the mountain, and then eat a dinner when I get home. It's kind of how I eat in the winter time. So yeah, I got to find out what that breakfast meal is, but it is crucial for a successful day on the mountain is having the proper nutrients so you can go hike. Like some days you got to go hike to peaks and drop chutes, and other days you're just doing 100 park laps, so it's like, I need this energy. And like the moment you run out of energy, the moment is like when your day ends. Like I don't ever like say like, I'm going to ride for this amount of time. I just ride till I run out of energy. And then once the energy is gone, I go, okay, like that was it. That's all I had today. So that could be 4 runs. It could be 24 runs. I never know.
I feel like something that you may benefit from, bro, is like, I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't know why I'm suggesting this to you, but kind of like a hearty egg breakfast. So like maybe the like eggs, bacon, and potatoes, like I said, or even like the spinach, tomatoes, and eggs. Just something that's like one's a little bit greasier than the other, but still like something that's just overall like a hearty breakfast, high protein with the eggs, everything like that. So get that eaten, and then on your drive to the mountain, drink essentially like a protein smoothie. So like frozen fruits, some ice. You can do almond milk and then protein powder, and so like that. So you'll eat your food in the morning, kind of get ready for the day, and then have the smoothie on your drive to the mountain. I feel like that would be one of the better meals to like set you up for success, in my opinion.
Definitely. I have Tom Brady's TB12 book as well, and I haven't finished reading it. But I wonder what that dude ate for breakfast, or like a football player. Like I wonder what their, breakfast into training is,
Without looking into it at all, I guarantee you it's the same meal every single day. Because a lot of people, especially at that level of success, believe in, there's a quote where they say it's like, eat like a dog. As in a dog eats the same thing every single day. And they don't even have to think about it. They just do. And like, that's just the better thing to do for you.
It's funny because I could totally do that, by the way. I could eat the same thing every day. Just, I'm not very, I say I'm not food motivated, but I definitely like am food. I can't say no to food, but like I also could eat the same thing. I don't know. Food is like my kryptonite, but also not, if that makes sense. So, because some people like they have to go eat at super fancy restaurants or have to eat like this luxurious food. Like not that way. Like I could, like food is something like I don't care about. At the same time, if you put a pizza in front of me, I'm going to eat pizza. Like, I don't know. Or like a lot of my bad choices. I don't even know how to say this. Like, it's hard for me not to eat bad food, but I don't care about food, period.
So I know what you're trying to say, but I do think that after you do it enough, it becomes like once it becomes real, you understand how difficult it is. As in, I have had a similar mindset where I'm like, I could do chicken and rice every day and just be fine with that, blah, blah, blah. But then I like started doing that in some ways. So our brother Tyler showed me this breakfast just like burrito type thing that you can make. And it's not complicated, but this was many years ago. And he showed it to me and I ate it, bro, because I was going to the gym. So Tyler was like, yeah, you should try this. And I ate it pretty much every single day for like 4 or 5 months, and eventually I struggled to eat it. And what it was quite literally just a tortilla, cheese on it, and then those Jack Link's like breakfast sausages that you just like, can put in the microwave, and you just put that together, and it's pretty good after you like have had it like just a couple times, and you're like, okay, this is pretty good. This is easy, just like sausage, cheese, and a tortilla. You just wrap it and eat it in the morning. Like it's quick, easy, yada yada. I would do that every single day, and I like just by the end eating the same texture and just like eventually you're just like, I have to do this again.
Flavor
fatigue. It kind of gets gross. I think that in theory, you and I both think that we could do that, but I don't know in practice how it would go.
Actually, could do it.
Yeah.
No, I
like the. Go ahead.
I don't know. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Because, yeah, in hindsight, when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I do tend to try to mix up my breakfast after a while. I usually do like 2 to 3 days in a row. And then I'm like, I don't want to eat that.
So something that I know that we can do, because I have done this in practice, and that's just like I can eat the same things, as in like Kirsty and I essentially have a menu, and everyone kind of does. It's essentially your recipes, but it's like, what meals do we want this week? So we kind of like pick and choose a few meals. So we'll eat the same kind of like 8 to 10 meals, but in like a kind of random, never like, we never actually schedule it, but like a random rotating schedule of like, oh yeah, we had this. Okay. Yeah. Let's do this next week or whatever, or like this and that. And that's something that I can do. So it's consistently eating the same stuff, but just in kind of like a rotating schedule. That's kind of what's worked for me the best.
What I struggle with is leftovers and eating leftovers. I would much rather make the exact portion or not enough food and like be done with a meal and be kind of hungry than have this excess that I don't get to and just waste food, because I'm not a big leftover eater.
So Kirsty and I are big leftover eaters, and part of that is also because we meal prep. So like I said, we got certain meals that we have that we like to eat. But Kirsty will pre-portion those out, and it just saves us so much time, because with us both working, 40 plus hours a week, and then just with all the side stuff, instead of us, when we wake up in the morning, like trying to shuffle and figure out what meal we're going to eat, we just go ahead and grab the pre-made meal that we already have. So it already has the rice at the bottom. It already has the chicken on top. And then it already has like the broccoli in there with it. So instead of putting anything together, we just grab the one container, and it just saves us so much time. And I like leftovers. Certain foods I prefer as a leftover. Certain foods I prefer like, cooked fresh or everything. So just balancing that and figuring it out. But also just kind of, I don't know. This is something I say a lot, but it's just like, just be an adult and just like do it type of thing. It's like, just eat the leftovers. Like, I'm an adult. I can do it.
That's what I do, is I just put them down even though I don't like them. But I do have the luxury of having my wife stay at home. So we don't have to do the meal prepping thing, but it totally makes sense why you guys would meal prep, because why cook every single day when you don't have to? Like, that's brutal. Because it does take the majority of the time.
Yeah, it saves in other areas too, though. And what I mean by that is, like I said, so the meal prepping saves it in the sense that instead of cooking for like 15 minutes a day or 15, 30 minutes a day every day, we'll cook for like 3 hours one day. And I'm pulling these numbers out of my head, so just bear with me. But like at the end of the day, we save the time there. Like instead of we're saving time on the cooking because we're already cooking. It's not like we're starting and stopping every single day. But then it's also like it saves time on dishes. Instead of doing dishes every single day, we're just doing dishes one day. And then it saves us time every single day because instead of us figuring out what we're going to eat and getting the food and putting it together, it's already put together. So all we have to do is kind of make the decision of like, do I want chicken and rice or do I want meatballs and red sauce? Like you just choose the one that you want and then that's that. So it saves time in a lot of ways.
Well, and also if you guys enjoy cooking together, all of a sudden that becomes like a day where you spend 3 hours together in the kitchen, laughing, cooking, things like that. I know in the summertime, I end up doing actually the majority of the cooking and that, like at least dinner, because it's usually like something we're grilling. We tend to grill a lot more. And we just got a Blackstone. So I've been doing a lot of the flat top cooking and things. And so when it's dinner time around like 5 or whatever, the time that I don't know, it's like Bobby and me just hang out and cook together, and like my time that I'm spending with my wife and my kids, and we go on the back deck and we play music out loud and we're dancing and like just vibing together. So like the cooking tends to be more fun than it is a hassle sometimes. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I know what you mean. I do like we do that. We try to have fun, but generally it's kind of some like alone time, if that makes any sense. As in, Kirsty will particularly she'll make this decision. I never suggest it. She'll be like, if I'm like, I want to edit tonight or whatever for a couple hours, she'll be like, okay, while you're editing, I'll just cook then. So it's like we're both getting tasks done. So that way we can then spend some alone time together, which is better than like, oh, I'm going to go edit for a couple hours. Okay. And then I'm like done editing. And she's like, all right, I'm going to go start cooking. And so now it's like, I just spent 2 hours editing and then she's about to spend like 3 hours cooking, which yes, I could like chime in and help her, but it's like, let's say I got to go do something else or whatever. It's just like, now we don't have that alone time together. It's just like, so just by getting them done at the same time, it just makes the rest of our day kind of like a more date-like. I don't know. I think you know what I'm saying.
No, it totally makes sense. Sometimes I wish Bobby would do that because I'm like, I got to go get this edit done. She'd be like, can't you just bring it inside and sit next to me? And I'm like, I would get so much more, like less done. And then I also don't have this like massive editing setup that I have. And like, I wish sometimes she'd just be like, cool, you go do that. And I'm going to do this. Sometimes she'll be like, okay, I'm going to go work out. But for the most part, we've been actually working out in the gym a lot together, which has been enjoyable as well. Just trying to do more of our daily routines together has put me and Bobby in a better, just like I was saying with life, where it's like ups and downs, like being in a relationship, marriages have ups where things are going smooth and you like guys like really like each other, and then there's definitely down moments where you're like, I don't like this person at all and they're just pissing me off.
So it's not that I thought that it was going to be easy, but it really is. Like when people say that marriage is the hardest thing you're ever going to do, it really is. As in, I don't look too much into this, everybody, and I don't think people do, but it's like, yeah, there's moments where you, like Johnathan saying, like you're just like, I don't like this person or whatever, but it's like when I got married, I'm literally playing with my wedding ring. Like when I put this ring on, it's I made a commitment to this person. Like I do love Kirsty to the moon and back, but it's like I am committed to living my life with this person. And it's the easiest way of like going through my marriage is remembering that, as in like, no, I am committed to this person, and it's like I'm gonna love them no matter what. But like telling yourself that in every single moment is, even when you're mad, is hard. Like it's hard, but it's like, no, like I am committed. I am here for this person, and that person is committed and is here for me, and it's an amazing experience. But yeah, it's hard.
So we've been together for a very long time. So we've had a lot of moments where we're like, we don't like each other, but we stuck through it. And I can say, even just me and her talking last night, like we never liked each other more than right now. So like right now we're at a peak, which the worst part about that means there's a down coming soon.
I know what's happening. I know what's coming.
It's going to get real tough soon, but it's always worth sticking through the rough times, because you can always look back and once again, just like I was saying earlier in this episode, with marriage, you need more positives than negatives. Like you need to have more positive days in your marriage than negative days, and then you're going to have a successful marriage. So you just got to think of life as like, am I getting more positives than negatives? Like, did I make my wife like me more today, or did I make my wife not like me today? Or like, these positive negatives. And I know every marriage is different and every people are different. You could have someone in your specific relationship that's just tanking it to tank it, but do your best part to be the best you, and it'll work out.
So I heard this piece of advice on through a video the other day that I've never been told, so I wanted to share it. And it was this lady talking, and I think she's been married for like 30, 40 years or something. She, so she's got some experience, and they were like, what's some of your advice? And she's like, one of the best things that's helped me get through this marriage is remembering and knowing and remembering that I am a completely different person than my spouse, and they're a completely different person from me, and they see things differently than I see, and I see things differently than they see. And the sooner that you know that and remember that and accept that you guys are not the same and you see things differently, it makes everything easier, because instead of it being like, what is wrong with this person, or whatever, you shouldn't be saying that, but it's like, what is wrong with this person, blah, blah, blah. Just remembering it's like, we are not the same person. Like, we don't think the same. So we need to just communicate that to each other. And that, like, just it being worded that way, never heard it that way. And I was like, that's very solid advice.
I think my best advice, I also agree with that. I say that when it comes to children, like when you raise your kid, like that is a new human that's never been on this planet, and there's never been anyone ever like it, ever. And so like, just roll with that human, but also like with your spouse, like you guys are different. So like accept the differences, and kind of along the lines, like the best advice I ever got is just don't have any expectations. If you don't expect anything from your significant other, they can't let you down. Most fights happen because you're frustrated with your significant other because you're expecting sexy time tonight, or expecting them to clean something or make food and they didn't. If you don't have expectations, then you won't be let down. And if you kind of just go more about the process of like, I'm not expecting things from you, I'm just wanting to give, and all you focus on is giving and not expecting, then you're going to have a way better relationship than just sitting there expecting them to deliver things to you that they're not. And then now you're just constantly upset that they're not coming through these artificial expectations that you're creating in your head, and you're not sharing and things like that.
And this is something that I came up with. I'm not saying that no one else has ever came up with it, but it's just something I thought about, where it's like just looking at something that you're mad about. This person did this and you're mad about it or whatever. And then just taking a step back and be like, I love this person. Is this small thing bigger than my love for this person? And the answer is always no. Like, this small thing that's upsetting me, it does not amount to the love that I have for this person. Like, I love this person so much more than this small thing, and it just allows me to like let it go a lot easier. Like, I'm choosing to love over choosing to be mad about that thing. And that's just that was something I figured out on my own, and I just kind of have like stuck with that.
Kind of goes back to your like not focusing on the traffic, or the thing that's upset you. So it's like, they didn't do this. I'm like, okay, it's fine. Like, I love this person
like the
so much.
expectation part. Like, instead of, But let's wrap up the podcast. I want to bring Shadow over here because Kenny asked about him. Shadow, come here. Shadow, come up.
Shadow. So for anyone that doesn't know, Shadow used to be my dog, and I got him while Ben lived with us, and Shadow's the dude. Absolutely love him. But sadly, when we got to this house that I live in, Shadow didn't do very well. He kept getting sick, and we couldn't figure it out. And so we asked Ben if Shadow could come stay with him, and Ben happily took Shadow. Shadow's doing much better living with Ben than he was in this current living situation over here.
Yeah, there was something probably in Jonathan's environment that Shadow was eating and just made him sick. So it's just healthier for him to be here at the moment. But yes, Kenny, that was for you, Kenny. That was for you, Kenny.
Such a good dog. Smart dog. Shadow's a really smart dog.
Yes, he is.
It's a bummer because we kept my wife's dog, and Shelby is a good dog. She's just a dumb dog.
Shelby's a good dog.
She's a good dog.
Shelby's a very good dog. But yes, thank you guys for sticking around through the podcast. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys were inspired by our conversations today. I hope you guys are ready to take on your days. Don't let small things affect you. Don't let the new year come and get you and make you have to start your resolutions. Start them today. What are you waiting for? Got anything else, bro?
More positives than negatives. Starts with your days, turns into your weeks, turns into your months, turns into your years.
Yes. Well, once again, thank you guys for liking, commenting, subscribing. We are super excited for episodes to come. That in-person podcast, once again, that'll be like linked down in the description, all that stuff. Maybe another little icon up there. Go check that out. Jonathan and I will do that as often as we possibly can. So look forward to those, and we are excited for the next podcast to come.
Peace.